everybody. This is Dr. Lori Shemek.
And I'm Omar Cumberbatch. You're listening to This Podcast Burns Fat. Hey, Lori, how are you today?
Hi, Omar. I am doing wonderful, surviving 100-degree weather. How
Ooh.
about you?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not 100 in New York, which is kind of, I won't say unusual, but we've had, August usually, I should say traditionally is, hitting 90s, and we're actually just at 80. So, it's
Wow, that
really,
is nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, so it's not too humid.
Hmm.
Definitely enjoying it. I just can't believe it's August and the summer is wrapping up, which is unfortunate, but, here comes a new season.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. We have one good month left of summer, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gotta take advantage. Gotta take advantage.
yeah. Um, so today we have a man on our show who has written a wonderful book called The American Culture Crisis. And he was a wonderful guest, and he talks about, simple lifestyle changes like we all know we need better sleep and diet and mindset. And he talks about how you can really transform your health and overall well-being with his tips in there. And um, you know, he covers a lot of territory outside of health generally, but in this book, he actually focuses a lot on wellness. So anyway, Scott Pectol is his name, and we really enjoyed having him.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Like you said, real actionable tips that can get our health on track. And just, like you said,
Hmm.
some things that obviously we overlook just because of some of his laziness and just often neglect. But yeah, he really hooks us up with some actionable tips. And I know the audience is going to really enjoy him.
Oh, I think so too. And yeah, you hit it. You hit the nails on the head.
Yes, yes. All right, so let's jump into the
Okay.
show.
Thank
Hey, Scott, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Great, Omar. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Scott, so happy you're here. We're looking forward to hearing all your wonderful treasure gems you're going to deliver.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Lori. I'm going to start by saying I'm a listener, and for your listeners, I appreciate the good energy you always have, Lori, in your podcasts and your social media and your books. You just have great energy. So thank you.
You are so
And
kind.
Omar, you always seem to ask the perfect question. The most recent podcast with the poop doctor, I was like, I hope he asks this, and you dropped it at the right
That's,
time. So I appreciate you guys.
yeah,
Oh,
I
thank you,
love
thank
I
you.
love Omar's authenticity, his humanness.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Both of you.
I
he
appreciate it,
speaks for
guys.
us.
So,
Uh,
Scott, yeah, we're really excited to have you, and we want to just jump into your origin story because you have a great one, and I know that you could help a lot of our listeners out there. So, yeah, we just want to hand it over to you to get us started.
Thank you. Yeah, so about 12 years ago, someone I was really close with retired from a lifetime in education. Within a year, he had a stroke and he ended up in a rehabilitation center. And he had every intention of getting out, but illnesses compounded. And sadly, after 7 years, he passed. I would visit him regularly. And when he passed, after seeing how terrible those living conditions were and finding out how much it costs, like ten to $14,000 a month. Our insurance doesn't really cover it. He had long-term health care that pitched in a little bit. Medicaid and Medicare didn't kick in until you drain all your family's money. So when he passed, I decided I didn't have a defined purpose in life, and my purpose was going to be I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I don't end my days laying in a bed at a financial, emotional, and economical burden to my family. Wasn't sure how I was going to do that, so I made an appointment with my doctor to get a physical, make sure everything was cool. I guess I hadn't done that for a while because when I got to the doctor, they let me know my lifetime doctor had retired. I had a new doctor. He was a 6 foot, 220 pound European guy. Looked at my file, looked at me, and said, "You're overweight You have high blood pressure and you're an alcoholic. Do you care? And I said, first, where's Dr. Newhart? I miss him already. And second, um, yeah, that's why I'm here. I need to make some changes when I'm in the car. I drive all the time listening to two TED Talks, and I think I have the solutions. The first one is Matthew Walker's Superpower of Sleep. The second one is Dan Buettner's How to Live to 100. If you and I come up with a plan to fix my sleep, I can fix my diet. And so we came up with a plan. I let him know I wasn't an alcoholic. I just drank because everyone else did, and I drank to help me sleep. So we came up with a plan. I ordered Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, Raphael Paleo's book, How to Sleep. I downloaded Ariana Huffington's Sleep Revolution, and I just became a sleep scientist. And then I ordered the Blue Zones book, and I was fascinated how these people in five other places around the world live to 100 and higher numbers in the US and have a longer life expectancy. So I started getting their cookbook and cooking their recipes. And everything's going great. I'm sleeping better. I'm losing weight. Then the COVID lockdown hits. And my wife texts me saying, hey, we're going to be stuck in our houses for a few weeks. This disease is coming from China. I don't know if you need anything from the store. My subconscious autopilot just texted her, get me a 30 pack of Modelo. Then I caught that and I said, this is my chance.
You and
This is a
everybody else.
sign. Yeah. So I text her right back in all caps, don't get the Modelo's. She's like, really? I'm like, really? Get me a 30 pack of sparkling water. That same day, March 15th, 2020, I went into my daughter's room, who was a freshman in high school. And I said, look, this is going to be hard. This lockdown, you're at a socially vulnerable age. You had a bout of anxiety when you were in fifth grade. And we found out that that was cured when we walked the neighborhood dogs. So I printed up 50 trails within a half hour of our house. We're going to walk one of these trails every day. We have a dog now, Baxter. He'll walk with us. Whether it's rainy, windy, hot, cold, we're going. And then to make it even easier, I looked up this disease. It's getting people with underlying conditions, people that are old. You are neither of those. I'm trying hard to be neither of those. So we're not going to watch the news. We won't even watch regular TV because we don't want to worry about this. We're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to embrace Marcus Aurelius's quote, when anything tempts you to feel bitter, don't think this is misfortune, but this would be fortunate to bear worthily. So we're coming out of this thing better than we went in. That's our plan. So everything's cool. And I'm sleeping 8 hours. I'm not drinking. I don't wake up to pee in the night. I have more energy than I did when I was 12. I'm eating food that my body wants rather than food I've been told to eat. And I lose weight. My blood pressure's down. I don't need to go to the doctor and have him tell me. I know it is because I'm not all stressed out and worried. So everything's great. Then June, the lockdowns loosen up a little bit and I feel great. Then back to back days, two of my favorite people I've ever known on this earth passed away. One from pancreatic cancer, the other from prostate cancer. And it hit me hard. And I was crying more than I wanted to. And I would see a hawk flying over and start crying. And anything got my emotions. And what I realized is I'm no longer giving up my emotions to my television, to my food, to alcohol, that they're all back with me. And this is great, but I need to steer them. I can't run around crying like Dick Vermeil. So I realized now I have such clarity and retention. I'm going to put that same studies that made me learn how to be a sleep expert into happiness. And I'm going to steer these emotions that way. So I read Gretchen Rubin's The Happiness Project. And in there, she says, the number one thing we need for happiness is energy. So I'm like, great. Because the number one way to get energy is from sleep. And I've just improved my sleep immensely. And I kept thinking, like, how ironic. In this country, we think what happiness comes from is our junk food and alcohol and drugs. And in reality, we get happiness from energy, which comes from sleep. And my sleep book said those three things are sleep's biggest enemy. We sure got that wrong. She also says we can raise our baseline happiness by 20%. So I'm like, sweet, I'm doing that. Then I Google who's the world's expert on happiness. And they say, you're talking about Arthur Brooks, the Harvard professor. He teaches a course on happiness. He's wrote many books. He's done many studies. So I read his book, Build a Better Life. And in there, I got what I was looking for. He breaks happiness down into three macronutrients. And the first one is enjoyment. The second one is satisfaction. The third one is purpose. And then he goes on to say, in America, we tend to get all of our happiness from that first third of the happiness quadrant, and that is enjoyment. And that could be anything for instant gratification. Going wine tasting, going to a Taylor Swift concert, Lori, in your book, having pink Twinkies that match your pink wine. Omar, in your poop doctor interview, the poop doctor kind of went off and said she was microdosing mushrooms. That would all categorize as enjoyment.
Hmm.
However, the monks get their happiness from satisfaction and purpose. They don't get any enjoyment as we see in America, yet they test happiness in us all the time. So I was like, those silly monks, how are they doing this? So I paused my happiness studies to become a monk study expert. And I read the 5 a.m. Club and The Monk Who Sold a Ferrari, Breakfast with Buddha, Think Like a Monk. And I realized what they're doing. They wake up at 5:30 in the morning and they have this hardcore morning routine where they do workouts and stretches, and then they walk to clear their mind. Then they meditate to get control of their emotions and their thoughts and direct those to intention and resilience and gratitude and happiness for the day. So I'm like, sweet, I'm going to lock in a monk-like routine. So I do that and I'm feeling great and it works. Monks are kind of smart in that regard. Then I continue my happiness studies and I'm reading Ikigai, the Japanese art of living a long, happy life. And in there, it says if we find a job that aligns with our ikigai, which combines four things, these four things are what the world needs, what you're good at, what you like to do, and what you can get paid for. If you can combine those four things in your job, you won't work a day in your life. You won't care how much money you're making. You will have a purpose. You'll just be happy. So I'm like, I got to figure that out. While I'm reading that, I hike with a buddy and he's telling me he's a tech guy. So he's like, dude, ChatGPT's coming out tomorrow. It's going to change the world. And you need to buy NVIDIA stock. And here's how you're going to use it. And you need to get on it tomorrow morning. So I hop on it. First day it came out. And I said, look, I made a lot of changes in my life, but I don't love my work. What is my ikigai? Here's what I'm good at or had success at. Here's what I like to do. Here's my resume. So it says, you would like this job. And I click on it and I'm like, I love that job. So I go back to ChatGPT and I said, rewrite my cover letter and resume so I get that interview. So they do. That's where I work today and I've worked ever since and I love it. And I love every minute of it. Um, so yeah, everything's going awesome. Fast forward, I'm noticing around me people are struggling, my friends, my peers, my colleagues. And I'm going to a lot of funerals for people who were social drinkers like me who became addicted to something else or alcohol, and I'm going to their funerals. Or I have friends diagnosed in ridiculous numbers with colon cancer and pancreatic cancer, liver cancer. And I have friends going to AA and fighting with their sobriety, and I'm trying to help them, but I don't know how exactly. And then my daughter comes home with 200 books she needs to donate to the library. She's handling the affair. our neighbor. So I'm like, let me take those to local bookstores, see if they can make a buck off it. So they're going through the books, and I grab one while I'm waiting. And it's The Nordic Theory of Everything by Anu Partman. And in there, she's a writer from Norway who attends a Bill Clinton conference, meets a writer from New York, falls in love, and decides to move to America. And within a year, she realizes she has terrible anxiety and she can't figure out why. And she realizes it's because in Norway, they pay 50% of their taxes up front, but they get their health care and education paid for, and they have a month of mandatory vacation. But in America, we pay less taxes up front, but they bleed us out, so it costs more. And then we have to take care of our education. So our kids need to be perfect, and they're on our payroll till they're like 25. And the second they're off our payroll and we can breathe, we turn around and our parents are unhealthy because we eat and drink so much that we need to take care of them because healthcare isn't waiting for them. We really don't get a break. So I was like, man, she really makes a good point, but she's missing more than half of what is the problem in our culture and why we all have anxiety, why we eat so terribly, why we drink so terribly. So I go back to ChatGPT and I said, I want to find books about how our culture programs us to eat and drink terribly. It's like, there's not one. I said, what do you mean? There's a billion books in the world. This is a huge topic. So I realized that in the monks and all my training, by doing hard things that we don't want to do to benefit our future self, we really, that's how we get happy. So I'm like, that sounds super hard and I don't want to do it. I'd rather read it. That was my intention. So in my job where I travel 75 nights from 6 to 9 at night in my hotel where I usually have free time, I'm going to just write this book and maybe it'll help someone. And that's why I wrote The American Culture Crisis. And it's helping people. That's why I'm here.
Wow, that is really an extremely interesting story and powerful one,
Thanks.
Scott.
Yeah.
Um, Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, the point of the book is it's for the average American, written by the most average American there's ever been. And my point is, if I can make all these changes, anyone can. And once you see how conditioned we are as a society, it's so easy to make the changes.
Yes, and and if it's, it has a powerful message as well because the name of your book, The American Culture Crisis that has made us sick, tired, depressed, and broke, and the simple solutions to crush the crisis, is aimed at providing solutions for the reader. And I find that really important and how your personal experience has really shaped uh, the book in and of itself. And you say that though the American culture is making us sick, tired, and depressed,
Yep.
and can you summarize in a few points key cultural factors that you believe is driving this crisis?
Yeah, and I think where it all came together for me was reading Matthew Perry's book, The Star of Friends, and he was making $1 million an episode. We all think money and success are the key to happiness. Read his book and tell me what page he was happy. I don't think
I would never have thought to pick up his book.
I would recommend it for everyone. And the reason is not only it's an interesting story and we can learn from his troubles. So he spent $6 million in rehab visits and he went to 6,000 AA meetings. And think about
Right.
this, Lori Nomar.
Yeah.
When he was going to AA, the writer of this show, who no shame on them, they wrote an episode where Monica had a boyfriend named Fun Bobby. And he was fun because he was an alcoholic. And during the episode, he has to stop drinking. So now Matthew Perry, who's playing Chandler and getting $1 million an episode, has to make a perfect joke for the 13 million viewers. And that joke is he is ridiculously dull, Bobby. And he is telling America that If you don't drink, you are ridiculously dull. And he's telling himself that while he's going to rehab. So it tells you why he spent 6 million in rehab visits. He went to 6,000 AA meetings
Wow.
and he couldn't get the message because in our culture, if you don't drink, you are ridiculously dull. That's the point. That's why it's funny because we all know that. Fast forward, Lori, he's 50, he's a millionaire, he's the success. His colon explodes. So he's airlifted to UCLA. He's put on life support. There's 8 people on life support. The other 7 die. He lives, so they induce him in a coma so his colon can heal. When he wakes up from that coma, Lori, I'm going to ask you to cover your ears for this part. When he wakes up from his coma, he asks for 3 things. He asks for a Diet Coke, cigarettes, and to watch a prison movie. So, as a PhD in nutrition, Lori, who has 4 best-selling books on the subject, how does that break your heart?
It breaks my heart. And it shows you how powerful our gut health is, because our gut health directly contributes to mental well-being.
Absolutely. And what it told me was our rehab industry and our food industry and our sleep industry need to all come together. And my book tries to tie all of these categories that I had to fix with myself together so we can see, like, look, Matthew, the reason you don't have the power to beat your addiction is because you have been doing the easy thing. And if we learned anything from the monks, and this is something that Huberman Lab podcast, the recent interview with David Goggins talks about, that the anterior mid cingulate portion of our brain, they did this huge study and they found out that people who live the longest have the biggest part of this brain. And overweight people have the smallest part of this
Mhm.
brain. And we can grow this part of brain by doing hard things that we don't want to do that will benefit our future self. So now we know this. Matthew Perry didn't know that then exactly. The monks figured it out somehow, and they've never watched a Huberman Lab podcast, I'm sure. So if Matthew Perry could have said, look, you need to start doing hard things, that you don't want to do that benefit your future self. So rather than getting a Diet Coke and cigarettes and watching prison movies, you're going to eat food that will heal your colon. And you're going to read a book that you don't want to do that is going to teach you how to live more intentionally.
So what I find fascinating, and I think you're on the money with all that you've spoken about so far. I know Laura and I do this show because there's a lot of misinformation out there, right? I mean, and
Right?
one of the things that I find is that this American society, and I'm sure that you've uncovered this in your book too, they normalize all bad behavior, but from the medical associations to our education system, we don't know how to do anything for ourselves that benefits ourselves at all. So, can you talk about that as well? And like I said, I feel for him too because in some part of his mind there was nothing wrong with what he was doing.
Yeah, totally. So what it is, our culture, like we learned from Arthur Brooks' Build a Better Life, is based on instant gratification. So all of those things that we do for enjoyment, for happiness, are instant gratification. Those examples I gave you. But none of those benefit our future selves. So, yes, we're having fun in the moment by eating pink Twinkies that match our pink wine, but they're going to hurt us a little bit going forward. And if we say, I'm not going to drink wine tonight, I'm not going to have pink Twinkies tonight, what Lori knows is when you bite into that pink Twinkie, the reason you don't want to do it, the reason it won't help your future self is because some evil scientist, nutty professor, has came up with the perfect concoction to hijack your taste buds. You're going to bite into that moist frosting, into that spongy cake, and you're going to get a dopamine sensation that says, hooray, Omar's biting into a Twinkie. Omar, you need to do this more. This is great. But what Omar knows is those chemicals cause cancer. They will raise your blood sugar and glucose levels. So when you go to sleep, after you ate those pink Twinkies and you had that wine, at 3 in the morning, your blood sugar and glucose levels are going to drop. Your body's going to fill you with cortisol to let you know something's wrong, and you're going to wake up. And then you're going to wake up groggy and tired and judgmental and grumpy.
And some
And
people get up and eat at that
that's
point.
it. And then you're going to crave those crappy foods and be stuck in this cycle. But if you can say, I'm not going to have pink Twinkies and I'm not going to have that, I'm going to have a water with lemon to help my metabolism, to help my gut microbiome. And then I'm going to sleep 8 hours soundly. I'm going to wake up full of energy. I'm going to do workouts and go for a walk to get the vitamin D and set my circadian rhythm. Then your future self is all set up. And that's why the monks are happier than us without doing any of that. Wearing robes, they don't even know how to shop for sweet clothes on Amazon. But when they wake up, they're getting high fives from their former self saying, dude, we hooked you up. We got you an 8 hour sleep. You're going to have a full bowel movement at the same time you do every day because we just ate food that was fuel for your body. We didn't get drunk either. And we read for an hour to feed our brains. So you're a little bit smarter than you were yesterday. So they wake up already happy because their future self hooked them up.
That is really great. Yeah, I think it's so important, and it kind of connects with my question I was going to ask you next, which is in your book, you talk about simple, actionable steps
Yep.
to reclaim your health and happiness, and I think you shared some of those just now. But can you share if there are any others, your favorite solutions, and tell us why they might be effective?
Yeah, I think doing like this morning, I woke up at 5:30. I do this whole routine that, I just kind of implemented myself, but it involves push-ups and leg lifts that I did in Pop Warner football. Um, and it is funny. I mean, at 5:31, when I look at the ground and say drop down and give me 80, my brain is like, bro, you don't have to do this today. You're going on this podcast burns fat and you can take the day off. And I'm like, silly brain, I'm running the show today. And I drop down and do the push-ups and I
A
do the
really
work.
important point. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that
No
is,
problem.
yeah, telling our brain what to do is extremely important.
Definitely. So, by doing all that, and then when the shower's over, I turn on 80 seconds ice cold. And I never, ever, 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 ever want to do that. Ever.
Never, especially
But
in the winter.
But what's funny is I know right around 10 seconds in, it will be unbearable. And then at 11 seconds, my body will adapt to the pain. And by 40 seconds, I don't mind it. And by 80 seconds, I'm proud of myself for doing that. So I've already got, 10 wins in, and it's 5:50 and I'm combing my hair. And that's to me a great way to start every day. So that way,
Love
when
it.
problems come up, which they will, because they have every day in my life, I have the power to know I got this. I can do hard things. And whatever this problem is, I'll find a solution, I'll solve it. And I don't have to sit and stress. And when I go see my healthy doctor, he's going to give me high fives instead of saying harsh things like he did.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I would definitely want to ask you about your diet. What have you let go of, I should say, over the years that just helps you with this new lifestyle?
Well, yeah, I think, just training my brain to eat instead of instant gratification, eat to improve my diet. So I'm pretty blue zones-ish where I cook a lot with beans and legumes as my primary source of protein. And you were talking before about misinformation, and what I was mentioning at the beginning was your question with the poop doctor. And I think that's such a gray area, is we all know the carnivore diet has so many great benefits, but we also know red meat and processed meat have been associated with colon cancer. And so you asked that tough question during that interview. And I think that helps us all where we need to get the carnivore diet and the colon cancer people together to tell us what is our best way, right here. Do you know what I'm saying there, Omar?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's a tough proposition because me and Lori have had carnivore folks on the show,
Yep.
and again, the results are amazing, but it's completely flies into like I guess our belief system. So I'm fascinated, and that's why I guess I asked those questions, just because I it doesn't seem logical like on his face, especially as a human being. It's not easy to hunt, right? So you
Yeah.
have to eat other things, right? So just to have strictly meat is I don't know. I don't know exactly why it works so well, but I'm
Yeah.
always curious to ask those questions, as you can
No,
tell.
I agree. And like my son is 22, so I'm like, dude, do what you do. But I'm in my 50s, and colon cancer is the number one killer of men in their 50s. So our needs are different, where you want to get strength and be strong. I want to hope to circle the sun a few more times,
Hmm.
you know. So we're just our objectives are different. And to going back to my diet changes, so I tried so many things to let my body tell me what is best for me. And I think that's the solution is we all know what's the healthier way, eliminating sugar and processed foods. So when I went for a Blue Zones diet, cut meat out for a month just to see how it went, I felt amazing. And beans were my primary source of protein. Then I went and ate two double In-N-Out burgers because the real scientists I trust more than anything is my gut. And they were great. When I bit into those juicy burgers. They were phenomenal. And then I needed to nap about 2 hours later. And then my bowel movement that hits at the same time every day didn't happen. Then I felt super sluggish, like a big rig with two flat tires was merging onto a freeway that was flowing at 70 miles per hour. That's what it felt like. So I'm like, all right, what a good thing to know. I'm going to cut back on eating that type of food.
Yeah, and I think it's important to underscore that, every diet has benefit for somebody. And it's not just one way of eating. It's so adding plants encourages the production of healthy bacteria, short chain fatty acids. But then again, the carnivore diet has its benefits, and if you do it properly, with all sorts of nutrients that you get, and those who have gut health issues seems to tamp down on those very effectively. And the Mediterranean diet has research that shows that those who choose that tend to live longer. And but there are some issues with the research on that. And so I think, when you look at it overall, I think there's something for everybody, but long term is what we need to look at.
Yeah.
Long term on carnivore, who knows, right? I think there's one person, um, Dr. Sean Baker, he's been on it for over 10 years now, and he's doing it phenomenally well. Okay. Vegetarian diets, lots of examples of that not going well long term. Mediterranean diet seems to be a balance of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. And Lori, one where I mentioned you in the book, you had a nice post about,
Thank
um,
you. I didn't know that.
yeah, you had a post about the lack of deep sleep can increase the chance of Alzheimer's by 40%. And when you had that post, I had commented, but I had, recently read Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep book. So I brought him into the conversation saying,
I
hey,
remember
in
that.
your book, you're saying we don't get to deep sleep with alcohol. Lori's findings is showing that that's a 40% increase in Alzheimer's. Can you connect the dots? And he went on to say, Yes, it seems like a direct correlation. I'm not ready to do that yet. And in my book, I mention um, there was an interview with Vivek Murphy, the Surgeon General of the United States, and he was saying he had wrote an article about all of the harmful effects of alcohol and it causes addiction and
Mhm.
could lead to cancer, and that people came in from the government and said, we don't want you to write that article. And this is the 51-minute mark of that podcast, if anyone wants to go listen to it. Um, that there's some, he'll upset a lot of people and he might lose his job if he writes this article. So it starts making sense
Mhm.
how our culture is able to program us to not see the harmful effects of a lot of these things
And,
out there.
and embraces the message of your book as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think my whole point of my book to the average American, from the most average American ever, was if I can make these changes, anyone can. And I learned how to reprogram myself rather than having our culture program me who they want us all to be.
Yeah, no, I listen, I think just from what we've been through the last 5 years, we can easily say whatever the culture is telling us to do is most likely wrong. So,
Yeah. No, isn't that the
Well,
truth?
perfect timing, Scott.
Yeah. No, it felt timely. And, once I saw it was helping people, you know, it felt good because that was the main purpose of it. I didn't expect to be Mark Twain or become a bestseller. I read those too many monk books to care too much about money or anything like that anymore. But yeah, and it's just seeing it's helping people feels amazing.
I guess to wrap because in a way the this show I think took a turn, and I don't know, maybe because I have my own struggles with this that it kept being a highlight. Alcohol is the one thing that you seem to be very I don't say against at this point, but you are recommending avoiding. Um, how did you eventually stop? And I think that will help a lot of listeners, including myself.
Right.
Definitely. So I had a huge advantage. I was able to hide behind the COVID lockdown. I was not influenced by our culture. And that's what I discovered was I didn't see my bros calling me names or, for not drinking. I didn't have to explain to anyone I was stuck in this lockdown, going for walks every day, sleeping 8 hours. So eventually, when I quit for from March 15th to June 7th, I woke up every day with such energy that I just didn't want to give it back. Like there was knowing I'm going to wake up feeling amazing, feeling more energy than I did since I was 12. That was more important to me than going out and getting drunk or having a beer here and there.
It's
Just
powerful
knowing
message. Yeah.
the key to my happiness, that 8 hours of sleep, I know how to get it and I get it every night.
Mm. Oh, that's awesome. So, Scott, you've been fantastic. We're so happy to have you on the show. Can you just tell the audience how to get in touch with you, how to get this book, and just keep up with all the great stuff that you're doing going
Oh,
forward?
thank you. Thank you both so much. It's an honor to be on here. Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm Scott Pectol dash Instagram, and at Pectol Scott is my Twitter handle. So yeah, I'm coming out with the audio book, and that should be available on Apple and everywhere audio books are. It'll be a week or two. And I did use AI to memorize my voice and then read the book as Robot Scott. So that's kind of weird, kind of cool.
So cool to know. I didn't know they could do that.
Yeah, I know. So once I have it up, I'll let you guys know. And then, yeah, my book's on Amazon. Um, just search The American Culture Crisis. And yeah, I sure appreciate being here. You guys, I'll keep listening because you guys do a great job.
Thank you, Scott. It's really, truly been an honor to have you on our show and appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
All right, you too, Scott.
Here.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of This Podcast Burns Fat. We're so excited to have you as a listener, and we're hoping that you really enjoyed the content as well. And if you did, please run over to iTunes and provide a rating and or review. It will go a long way in helping us continuously build our listenership up so that we can provide you with excellent content regarding fat loss, weight management, and just an overall healthy lifestyle. Thanks so much. Have a great night.